Today we have Mr. Pankaj Mehta, a chartered accountant by profession and co founder of a company called FinGurus, where he helps aspiring founders in compliance, in their accounting, tax practice, and virtual CFO services. So, Pankaj, let's start with this podcast. Tell me more about your journey.
Okay, so journey chartered accountancy, which started like about 2008-9, just out of my second PU 12th when I did, and post that just started taking up CA because being in a commerce background, you have very minimal option then, either CA, CS, or some other practices then, right? So we took chartered accountancy as a part of it, which was a kind of a thing, which was an easier course compared to any other thing. Plus, it had various available options. Just started understanding the whole finance structure, right? And because basically when I did my first PU, second PU in college, right, accountancy was my core. So seeing that as a core, I wanted to take it up from there and get it to the right place. So post that I took my CA. For CAs, it's like you have attempts and attempts and attempts. You know it better, right? Being a chartered accountant yourself. So we always tell that where there is a will, there is a way. But for every chartered accountant, after every November, there is a May, right?
Okay.
So that's how it comes up. So we have an opportunity where we write exams every 6 months, right? So that was there, and there was no kind of a pressure from anywhere. So started looking at it, working with my tuitions, my college, and everything around it. I was able to get through it. So gave about few attempts, got the things in place. Being on the luckier side, there's a opportunity where you don't have. So you know CA ka thing, right? There are 40 marks in a subject and everything around it. So overall, it has to be an aggregate. So I cleared my both the groups together, where I got an aggregate where I was a set off from group one, group two, overall 400, and that was done for me. So post that, I got into a partnership where I did my articleship. So that was one of the thing where it made me like on a different game altogether, right? I was never an employee material. I wanted to start something of my own. So that's when I moved with it, started FinGurus. Four founders just met once and started together. And from then we thought overall, being on a product side, so there is like startup was a sector which people never looked at. And we wanted to give that service to startups. So we give them overall end-to-end service, which helps them take up all of these things. Like when it is from company's birth till fundraise, everything and anything we provide that way. So that's the FinGurus overall thing what happened. And that's my journey, which started from my CA and we started co-founded this entity.
What all you do in FinGurus?
FinGurus is, as I said, it's an end-to-end financial consultancy company. So we basically provide to a startup, like it happens to be. So when you incorporate an entity, right, founders do not know what they have to do. It's a private limited, it's an LLP, partnership. We help them to understand that. Then we guide them what is the process around it. Then we help them to get their books in place, right? Because finance as a part, none of the founders think it's as a profit center. It's always a cost center to them. So cost center in particular, it's like where you think it's a sunk cost. Nothing happens out of it. It's just पैसा देना है दे दिया हमने आगे कुछ नहीं होना है. So finance is taken that way. So we have taken finance on the different level, help them to get into the right place, make sure their books of accounts are done. Then few people are, as you know, they are bootstrapped and few people want to do fundraise. So when it's fundraise, we help them get into that fundraise, manage their company secretarial things, get them into their like DD and everything around it, connect them to investors, help the whole system to get into place. And post the fundraise, there are many compliances which comes in. We also help company to get into the SME IPOs, full IPOs and everything around it. So that's the whole service what FinGurus provides as a whole.
So basically, what I've understood, you have not gone through the conventional route of practice where we do auditing, where we do basic accounting for them,
Right.
Compliances and all.
Right. So, yeah, again, what happened here is like when I did my articleship, that was 2007 to 2010, right? That point in time, being on CA student, we know there's only one accounting software which was called Tally, राइट पीपल लाइक वो घोल के पिला दिया था हम लोग को कि यार ये टैली है यही समझो यही तुम्हारा लाइफ है बट आफ्टर गेटिंग अ स्टार्टअप स्ट्रक्चर founders are more tech savvy, right? When they are tech savvy, they need reports, they need things, and Tally is like again, आपको किसी को पूछना पड़ेगा डेटा दो नहीं दो and everything. But here we started getting these guys startups into a more of an automated software. So we worked with this thing which is Intuit का software है QuickBooks. We worked with software called as Zoho and everything around it. We helped the whole system come into place. So today in FinGurus, we are not working on the regular stuff. We help all the founders to get into the right kind of knowledge. So today, everybody, the knowledge is abundantly available, right? So edtech companies are available who are providing the knowledge on the go, right? So anybody wants to get tech savvy or anyone to have information on finance, they can just go anywhere, Google it, they have the information. So when you talk to a founder, they are more trained than the person whom they're talking to. They know about their business. So we provided information more on the tech side, giving them the right information and going the unconventional route, as you said rightly, and giving them the right thing. Audits are a part of it, which people does for it. But overall, we help a startup to get into the place, get to the market, understand what the TAM is and everything around it. So that's what helping. We also help them put their things into place, like getting their pitch decks, getting their financial models and everything into place, which is not a part of regular CA practice. So we have taken something where there was, it's not a low hanging fruit at that point in time. So we started working on that and getting the right system into place. We have worked with about 500 startups now on a different zones, different people coming from US, Singapore, Middle East and everything around it, and help them grow in a different tangent.
So you mentioned you have got 4 co-founders.
Yes.
So are all of them from the CA background?
So it's no. So basically, we have 4 founders. 2 are chartered accountants, me and one of my other founder. Saurabh, he's a chartered accountant, and there is a company secretary who is taken up this thing like so he is company secretary, and one is a marketing person. So it's a private limited what we are running, not a conventional CA firm. So it's a private limited where we are together and started on this thing. So it's a synergies match which came up, and that's how we worked around it.
I think that's a very good combination. Most finance people ignore the marketing aspect of it. We get so much into finance that we forget that ultimately to grow your business, marketing is something that you need to have an edge on. So how is that next your growth plan? Are you hiring or what is the team strength and how you plan to grow to next level?
Right. So right now we are at about a 75-member team. Right. So we started with about 8 people and we had 75-member team. We have people working from home. So that's not a thing, like, because normally it happens to be that we need people in office. So few people are working from home as well. So that's happening around. We keep hiring on a regular basis. We have client requirements. So the major issue, right, again coming into it. So if you see, you don't have trained people available rightly. So people, I have my associates, few of my colleagues and few of my other chartered accountant friends who always keep wanting, if you have a good resource, why don't you refer to us? So that's the thing. So we also have a training kind of a system what we have put into our place where FinGurus trains people and also provides them as a resource to different things. So that's one other service what we are providing. Plus our growth plan is very simple. We are right now having offices in Bangalore. We have an office in UAE, we have office in Hyderabad and Mumbai. They're small offices, but post-COVID we started working from Bangalore majorly. And now we are expanding in Saudi and few other countries around it. So we have clients across the circle. We have from US, Singapore, Germany, and overall the market, right? So India being, like you can tell, an operational entity. So anybody wants to have a back office in India. So we are helping company come into India and go outside and do everything around it.
You mentioned an important point that you are not getting the right resource.
Yes.
So I think off late, this is something that I've been listening from many more professionals, particularly from the CA, that people are not choosing to take the CA path.
Right.
Do you agree with this?
Okay, so now there is one thing we are agreeing. I agree and disagree with this because what is happening is people are taking CA path, but what happens is there is a gap in the understanding. So there is something called as theoretical understanding and practical understanding. People understand theoretically. So when I started my articleship, I just knew there is something called as computer. It's about 2007. I'm talking about like 17 years from today. So you know what is system, right? Laptops and everything were after that. So you know to switch on a system, you don't know how to write an email, right? So these kind of basic trainings are also not available. When you understand the subject matter, right? So since you are from an edtech company, right, you know things better. So when a person talks about it, like when we are talking about training in particular, people know on a bookish level, everybody understands, right? Today we talk about taxes, we talk about anything, they know कि ये section यहाँ पे applicable होगा. But when we go further, there is a very basic understanding. People are not trained. So that is what is missing with a person at a very normal level, not a chartered accountant qualified, but when it comes to articleship level or people who are semi-qualified and everything around it, people are lacking is called as training on the practical side. If that exposure comes in, I'm sure we have a great team who can work wonders around it.
But we had a 3 years of articleship, which has again been reduced now.
Yes.
I think now it has been made 2 years
Right.
of compulsory articleship. So articleship is there.
Yes. Okay. So there is this thing.
So
Please.
here if I compare with so many other professional qualification, like CPA, like CMA, like CFA, like CIA, and so many other professional qualification, you'll be surprised to know that there's no concept of articleship there.
Right.
So here we have a concept of articleship, but still, if you tell me that we are not getting trained professional, then how else do we create trained professionals?
Okay. So this is a very generic thing. Like articleship during our period, we had about 3 years, right? But if you see, as I said, after every November there is a May. First time qualifiers.
And after every Diwali, there is a November.
Exactly right. So that's other thing which is there, right? So people like us, when we have done it. So I gave about 4 attempts on the thing, right? So moving in like that. So what happens is during my articleship, I do a 2 month articleship, then take a month leave for my exams. Then again a 2 month articleship, then there is an exam. So this kind of thing, what has happened is it is a broken period. I don't have a continuity. So when I don't have a continuity, things do not move rightly, right? And second thing, what happens is these days, people on a whole are taking articleship, but it is not taken with that versatility. They are like, okay, मेरे को करना है, मैं करके जा रहा हूँ. If they have that understanding, so during my articleship also, I did my articleship from UC Bandarian Company. So I was a 3 year article there. So what my thing was, I was more on the learning side. So that's the reason after my qualification, I immediately became a partner. Was my principal understood that what we are doing and everything. But there are a couple of other guys who qualified but could not move further on that. Right? So similar thing happens here. You have people coming from different firms, different places, but the scope is so limited. So today in Bangalore, right, when we are talking about things, you have such vast scope. People coming from different things can take up different field. They can take specialization in particular, but from a smaller city, people come in. So I have people from different states in my company, right? So when you take people from smaller cities, they have not had that scope to take it up that way. So they have always looked at their articleship as a burden. कर दिया खत्म, मेरा काम हो गया, मेरे को एग्जाम लिखना है, सीए बन गया, फिर देखेंगे. Until a resource is not rightly trained there, it's a very difficult thing.
So I remember I am very vocal about articleship. I had written a couple of blogs around how articleship is a scam, and I know I got so much backlash, but I also got so much appreciation for that, because as per me, the whole intent of articleship, I think, is not coming out clearly. So I remember sometime around some couple of years back, I've written many things about articleship and what transformation, what changes are required, because like you rightly said, people are not taking articleship seriously.
Right.
So I am always of the opinion that articleship is something that should be always put after you have qualified chartered accountants.
Right.
Because I've seen so many of the students, they have passed their foundation, they passed their inter, they have completed their articleship, and they are not able to become chartered accountants.
Right.
I know thousands of them who have spent almost all their adulthood trying to become chartered accountant. They've worked like, when somebody is paid 5,000 as internship, they are nothing less than slaves. Right?
Agreed.
I remember my office boy was paid more than me. Right?
I get it. Like institute had a 1,000 rupee minimum stipend when I was getting done.
Yes,
So that's the thing.
I'll add here. I remember when I was being interviewed for articleship by a very small firm, and she said, after the interview, she said, how much does ICI prescribed as stipend? And I remember it was 1,800 in
Okay.
cities like Bangalore, and she said, okay, then fine, then I'm going to give you that, and I'm going to give you BMTC bus pass. And I just came out and I'm like, where am I going to keep so much money? I am of the opinion that articleship is something that should be taken very seriously, but it would have a real essence of it only when it is taken after you qualify as a chartered accountant, because you've already done, you've passed this exam.
You
now
know what you're slogged for.
you have slogged to achieve it. Now you will want to put every effort to gain the practical exposure.
True.
Because so far during the articleship, you don't know whether you'll eventually become a CA or not.
Right.
It's like I'm working for a client, but I don't know whether the client eventually will pay me or not.
True.
So I don't know if I want to put my heart
Right.
So there is I have a difference of opinion. I think if you look at any other institution around the world, for example, if you look at AICPA, the world's largest accounting body, they don't have a concept of articleship.
Right.
And we sitting in India, we are talking about chartered accountancy with a very rigorous exam, uh, and with 3 levels, and with it was 20 papers, then it further reduced, now
No,
I
it's
think
7.
it is
CA
it is
final is 7.
it is 7 at CA final, and I think 7 again at
IPCC.
IPCC or CA inter level.
Exactly.
So till today, 7 plus 7, 14 plus another 4 there.
Right.
So we have 18 papers now.
True.
If you look at, on the other hand, a CPA, it has just 4 papers.
Right.
And the difference is with 7, with 3 levels and 7 levels, 7 papers of final, 7 papers of inter, and 4 papers of this, we are still, operating in a very small economy.
Agreed.
But there, with just 4 papers knowledge, they are working in a much, much, much bigger economy. When we say chartered accountants are the people who actually run the economy at the back end,
Right.
to actually ensure that there's a smooth functioning of financials.
Right. Understanding of the laws,
understanding
the
of the
complicated laws, what we call it.
compliance,
Right?
everything. We are
Exactly.
the backbone of the entire,
True. Economic system.
economic system that operate. So, what is your opinion about this? Do you think that there should be something concrete to be done to make CA a little more easier for students to pass, or to make it at par with where the world is moving?
I see it two-way, right? So there were a couple of papers which were there before when I was doing it. Like there was one paper which was always a gap between a chartered accountant and his qualification, right? That's called ISCA, Information System and Computer
I
thing.
so
right?
agree. I'll tell you one small thing here. After I passed my CA, first 6, 7 months, 8 months, I used to get nightmare. I have got so many nightmares where, suddenly in my dream, I'll be feeling that I have failed my ISCA paper and I have to rewrite my CA exam.
Right.
And or I remember once where I suddenly woke up and realized that ICI has made it compulsory for people to reappear even if they have passed
Passed
the
out. I know,
passed
these
out.
are
They have to
nightmares.
reappear for ISCA exam, and if you don't appear, you have to your
Give up
CA
your degree and everything
yes,
around
yes.
it. Right.
This was one paper which always made me believe that I'll never become chartered
So this is
accountant.
what we always said कि जिसका इसका नहीं हुआ वो किसी का नहीं हुआ. That was a statement which we always used to tell, because ISCA was one such paper which was there required, but it was actually not required. They were outdated syllabus, everything around it. But good, ICI moved it out and now things are much better. So overall there are things like during our articleship, if I understand, we had things which were coming up on the thing. So once you complete your CPT, I was that batch CPT. So there was one thing which happened is I had to rewrite my paper. That was first batch who had to rewrite his paper, where the paper actually got leaked. That was that batch what happened to be. So post that, it was like you write your CPT, get into articleship. I was a 17-year-old kid. मेरे को खुद को अगर अपना फॉर्म साइन करना, I could not do it because I was not basically 18 then. So I had to get it signed by my dad. So that happened. So after 18 to 21, what do you think? Like kids like us, like ठीक है time निकालना है निकाल लेंगे. तो उस time that was the thing. So now since institute has made a mandate where they said you will have to do it only after your first exam, that first group clear, and both group clear. So once you clear your group 1 and then you start your articleship, you at least have some understanding, some kind of maturity which comes in. Now there are different kind of companies. You have big fours, you have smaller companies and everything around it. But people prefer on a different tangent, right? They like, okay, हम लोग को बड़ी कंपनियों में जाना है, better करना है. So that is when we guys or firms of medium level or a lower level are not getting any articles right now. So articles per se is dried up. Now, I read it somewhere that we have 4 lakh chartered accountants in 140 crore people of Indians, right? Overall 4 lakh chartered accountants from the time it started till date. That's a very small number. But still you see the people are available everywhere, right? So that's how it is. So now the value of CS has to get better. People have to get more empowered on the whole thing, like technology side, or we understand, because overall if you see chartered accountants who were a couple of years back, or you see a traditional firm which is running, they do not want to get technology upgraded. Right? And when you talk about CP and other countries, right, the first thing is they want to make sure that they are able to provide the right thing to the client. Now, providing a service for self-benefit and providing service for the benefit on a whole makes more of a difference. It's a larger picture what we have to see. So people You see, institute has kept something called a CPE, continuous professional education, which is mandatory. Now people are attending that, understanding how things are coming up. Post that, I think things are getting better, but at a lower level, the mass production of CAs has to be understood on the right side. So if they are rightly trained, I'm sure there are humongous jobs available around, and people can do it well.
So you mentioned that the articles are drying up. This is something that I'm hearing it very often.
Right.
I'm not sure there has been frequent changes in the timing of articleship. I've also heard a lot of people telling that the entire period of articleship, which had to earlier start from inter,
Right.
was moved to immediately after CPT.
Exactly.
Then it got changed that one group of
Inter
inter
is
has to be
required.
passed.
Right.
So is it to do more to facilitate a student, or is it to do more to serve the CAs who are practicing and who are not getting articles?
It is a win-win for both, technically, right? If you see, I do my first group CPT के बाद, so I'm not sure अगर मैं first attempt में pass करूँगा. I will take some time going further, right? So when I'm sure कि I'm going to take attempts, right? I'm not wasting the time just giving my attempts. At least my articleship is getting through. When I
But
do
again,
after
when you
CPT.
say that, then your whole objective of articleship बस पार करना है इसको.
Exactly, sir.
मतलब
अभी भी
मैं
वही है.
हॉस्पिटल में हूँ, मुझे दिन काटना है जैसे भी करके.
Right.
बस उसमें you are telling me that as if I'm suffering in the process, and as long as that feeling is there inside,
Right.
you're not enjoying that process, you're not learning. If I'm suffering, I'm not learning.
Right. So now, again, as I said, at that point in time, right, a 17, 18-year-old kid, I again tell that, a 17, 18-year-old kid has some other things as a part of it. Now, college चल रहा है, मेरे CA की classes चल रही है, and with that I have to do articleship. Articleship, what is the time? 10 to 5. I have my CA classes in the morning, CA classes in the evening, and including my college on a regular basis, which I'm going. So 10 to 5, which is a timelines, right? A person wants to understand कि मैं क्या क्या कर सकता हूँ इसमें, नई चीज़ें सीखने का होता है. Now there are different ways. Now when you talk to chartered accountant, like okay, so today we have everything online. While I started my first job in my articleship was this: the ITR, fill it manually. Today everything gets done online, so you know everything is matching or no. Previously it was do it manually. Now when you write an ITR, I don't even know which number comes where. What is happening there? इसमें क्या होता है? ठीक है, लिख लो, काम कर दो, खत्म हो जाएगा. राइट? सीनियर ने कुछ काम दिया आपको, कर लो, खत्म हो जाएगा. या फिर आपके पार्टनर ने कुछ दिया, कर लो, खत्म हो जाएगा. There was no knowledge imparting which used to happen. Now people have technology coming in, everything coming in, it is making more sense. Otherwise it was like, ठीक है, किसी ने कुछ बोला है, देख लो. So at that years 2007, 8, 9, 10, right, phones were not so much, internet was no way widely available. Basic चीज था, आपने देख लिया, कर लिया, that was a thing. So information not abundant available. Now people know what is to be done, how it is to be done. So now you have better stuff coming in, better articles coming in with questions. So after now also, right, now institute has done much better. So people are split into two. One is articleship who was doing with CA firms, and second part is they can go and do industrial training. They can go after 1 year to industries, have an experience there, get an exposure to the industries. In fact, after qualification, they can get a good job there as well because they are trained. So people don't have to put time into training and everything. So that way, institute is doing better. But again, to CAs or students, it is like weighted both the times. So people see it like it is beneficial to students, or CAs, it again matters of the time, like how it is helping each one of them. अगर इंस्टीट्यूट ने कुछ बेटर किया है फॉर स्टूडेंट्स, देन दे हैव डन समथिंग फॉर दिस थिंग ऑल्सो, लाइक ऑल द CA fraternity as a whole. They are trying to get them also trained, tell them that you provide better services or provide them better resources. So you can get articleship, get better clients on board, and that is why if you see a statement which came in by finance minister, she said you need to create a Indian Big Four now. The other Big Fours are already there. Let's create an Indian Big Four, Big Five, Big Six, and get the things into place. So at least you have the things available in here, and people want to work with you guys rather than just other Big Fours which are available. So that's one other thing which has come up.
Take me through the role of virtual CFO. What do they do, and how do you support startups?
Okay, so now if you see startups, most of the startups, as I said, see finance as a cost center. So we try to get them a CFO, but not at a full value, right? So a CFO cost you good bomb of money, right? So we try to put at a lower value. We give them few hours every week, every month kind of a thing. We tell them that what are kind of strategic decisions and everything. We can take it together. Make sure that your decisions are done right and you have a right understanding of the finance as a core. Because if you don't keep finance as a core on the overall services, then the business is bound to suffer. So that's how we provide them fractional CFO, like any of the chartered accountants who are there with a 8 to 10 year of experience, comes, helps the startups sit with the founders, give them kind of an understanding of the business, help them strategic decision taking and everything around it. So that helps them to sum up the whole thing and give them the right understanding of the finance of their businesses, because people don't see MISs. They just understand the MISs, but they don't want to look at it in deep matters, right? Like, okay, some numbers, you know, what are the sales, what are the expenses, you know, what is EBITDA. But people don't understand why EBITDA is important, why PBT, profit before tax, is important, how the things should look in green, or how the month on month or year to date finances comes in. So we help them prepare everything, give them some strategic insights, how to reduce the cost and all these things. So that's whole the role of CFO, which is done like a CFO full time. What he does, we try to do in few hours and give them an understanding of their finances, how it comes up, and give them strategic understanding. That's the whole plan. What happens here.
All right. What are your long-term goals as Fin Gurus? What are you trying to achieve next 5 years?
Okay, as I said, like the finance minister said, make one of the big fours. So that's one of the plan what we have. See, we want to expand in all kind of matrices with finance. Give anybody coming into as an employee or as a part of our company, give them all kind of experience around it. Plus, any company who's coming to us, give them an end-to-end solution, not getting them out or giving them to any other companies or kind of thing. They are with us. They can get all kind of solutions, and we want to expand globally. So FinGurus is right now more of working with few countries. We want to make it a global company, having provided services everywhere. So that's the whole plan around it. So in a 5 year, we should be reaching about, might be like try to reach a valuation of $1 billion and plan things around it. So right now we are bootstrapped, but want to raise funds in future.
You said you have been, you also raise funds. So when are you planning to raise funds for your company?
So fundraise has its pros and cons, right? Pros are very different, that you have money into pocket. As they said, right? So fundraise is like having an AK-47 in hand. You can always keep shooting around it, but you don't know where to shoot, what to shoot. But always having a small revolver makes sense, that okay, you have 6 bullets, where what happens. So we, being a finance consultant to anybody, we are trying to be very frugal about our costs. So we want to be on green in our balance sheet, profitable every time. So once we see that expansion becomes a plan, and we see that okay, now the money is the most important part, is when we plan to raise. But 3 years we don't have any plans right now, but we can look at after that. So as right now we are self-sustaining with bootstrap and everything coming up. It's a good thing happening around. So that's the plan.
Okay. You were also mentioning that you want to expand, and become a global brand.
Right.
So, have you looked into looking at professionals who are not just conventional chartered accountant, but CPAs, CMAs, ACCAs, enrolled agents? Because these are the people who take, if you look at the western part of the world, unfortunately, CA is something that they do not recognize.
True.
If you talk to any of the counterparts sitting in, even in Singapore, if you see, CA, there is little awareness, but in US, if you see, nobody knows what is this exam all about. So,
Right.
how are you planning your global outreach?
Okay, so we do work with couple of consultants around, right, who are CPAs. In Singapore, we are working with a couple of CPAs there as well. So there are different kind of consultants we are working with right now, because what happens is, as we said, we don't want to be jack of all, right? We want to master a skill, put that into place, and people who are good at it, work with them overall, right? So being a global company is always working together. It's like sabka saath sabka vikas, what comes in, right? So if we don't if we want to have everything with us, makes no sense. So we're working various consultants. In fact, we also plan to hire some CPAs in house, as we are getting. So we have seen couple of marketing advertisements which have come from few of the companies who are providing CPA services in Bangalore in particular, right? So they are providing their LinkedIn advertisements and everything, where it is coming up that there's a shortage, global shortage of CPA, of basically accountants, you can call it, right? And US in particular is suffering that. So we are trying to hire CPAs in India and take that work as a back office to India and get the work done. Because today, India is become a global hub. Anybody is okay getting the work done in India. They don't have an issue with security, no issue with technology, and no issue with knowledge of people. So when we have all these three coming into India, so it makes more sense that hiring people from India who have done CPA of US or CPA of Singapore, everything around that, and get them into the right place is what the plan is here. So we also hire CPAs. So we have chartered accountants in company, we have company secretaries in company. We work with consultants, but we also plan to hire these guys in future. But again, CPAs, I know this is like something, but CPAs charge bomb as part of salary. So that's one thing which is people are working with, but yes, that's what we are looking at as well.
I think, yes, I agree. CPAs charge bomb, but if you look at the cost of doing CPA is also, something that we look at what we say the ROI.
Right.
Unfortunately, in when whatever we have been studying in our CA, we have actually not put our knowledge into computation of ROI.
True.
We say CA exams are cheap. We say CA exams are, you can just write the exam any number of time. It does not cost you. But it does not cost you money, but it costs you life.
Right.
On the other hand, yes, CPA exams are a little expensive, but gives a very, very excellent ROI. And one reason why most people pass CPA is because the exams are expensive.
They want to do it first.
Yeah, they want to pass in their first go because otherwise they know that they are going to spend a lot of money. So I think keeping exams very, expensive is also one way of motivating that you have to put in your best efforts and pass out the exam. How about, you were also telling about taxation. So enrolled agent is one of the very finest course in the US. And I have seen off late there are more than 5,000 vacancies for enrolled agents in India, where these professionals are working into US taxation. So if you look at KPMG, if you look at Deloitte, if you look at EY, PwC for that matter, all of them are hiring enrolled agent in very big bulk because that's a demand for work being sent to India. Like you rightly said, the knowledge hub is there in India.
Right.
So are you looking at that aspect also of entering the taxation world with enrolled agents?
So again, right? So when we start growing global, because when we have a couple of clients who are in the US, we are providing them India backend service and everything. So enroll agents, we do want to hire since like we see chartered accounts like July is a season for all the filings here. Similarly, there are seasons of June and April and everything around it. We plan to get them on board, right? So as and when. So we work with couple of people, like we work with a couple of partners there. So where we wanted to get all the US working. Like so US is divided into two things. One, there are big companies which are there, and there are smaller entities which we call MSMEs in India. We want to get that work outsourced to India and get enroll agents on board and start working with them, because once we see the work is coming up, so it's a two-way scenario for all of us. Either it is first cost and then work, or first work and then cost. So either way we work on both the scenarios. So we are evaluating an opportunity around it. So if we start getting the work which is coming up, obviously we want to hire them. So that's the plan around it.
I think this is picking up big time in India. Like I said, almost all the companies are hiring in big numbers, and I think there's a lot of opportunity in US taxation market here in India. I think that you can take an early move advantage where a lot of others are jumping into this.
Sure. No, we are working. So we're working with few of our consultant friends as well around it, and we were talking to them. So we are planning to incorporate the entity around it and get all the works whichever it is like, because early more advantage obviously helps, and we will try to put a thing onto it. So we'll look at it. That's for sure.
All right. So tell me how to become a CFO and what is the average salary package of a CFO?
Okay. CFO in particular obviously needs an inherent basic finance degrees, what we call CA, ACCA, CPA around it. It depends which kind of company you want to become a CFO for. So there's a basic background what is required. Salary is upwards of 50 lakhs. It can go to 5 crores, 8 crores, 10 crores. If you see about listed entities, you know the numbers which has already been pushed around. So
Yes.
the numbers is like sky's the limit for CFOs when they come into it. Being very frugal about finances is the major quality which a CFO requires. Understanding the finance as a whole. So when you talk about a CFO is more of a business finance guy and not a compliance or a tax guy who comes into it, because you need to prepare hundreds of reports, understand the reports, understand the numbers and everything around it. So CFO needs a qualification which is more of a business finance guy, right? Anybody who is working on business finance in particular, working with numbers, number crunching has to be a part of it. And then you are like with the experience of 8 years, 10 years, 12 years, you obviously are ready to become a CFO around that. And it depends on which industry, which kind of company, what you're looking at. So that's one thing, but yes.
So you mentioned that qualification like CA, CPA, ACCA. Is there any additional qualifications or additional skills that you should be working on from early days to become, to eventually, start your journey to become a CFO?
Yes. So CFO in particular, if you see any companies what you're working with, right? Chartered accountants, if you talk as a profession. So we have always worked with something called as taxes, books of accounts, and numbers, right? But to get to a CFO level, it is always number crunching, which is a primary thing. People working on Excels, people understanding the numbers. MIS, which is a monthly information statement, which goes to a management. So when it goes to a management, management reads with a bird's eye view कि हाँ मेरे को ये number पता है, this is my revenues, these are my expenses. But when it's a CFO, he should understand number more in a detailed manner, that why this cost has increased, why there are different kind of revenue numbers, why sales increase, why sales decrease. Because if you see, let's take this way. Let's just understand this. The numbers increase. Now gold, for example, gold has gone from X cost to 2X right now in last 4 years. So your numbers do have increased, but have your volumes increased? No. That is where a CFO comes into place and understands that a founder or basically management is happy that okay, I've seen increase in my turnover and I'm happy. But what comes in takes is a CFO or a business finance guy understanding that in detail. Ki okay, these are my numbers and you should not be happy because there's not been increase in turnover, it's just been increase in numbers due to a rate fluctuation. So these are the numbers. A person has to be a business finance guy more to understand or become a CFO. That's a primary skill. Working with numbers, understanding numbers, how the whole thing works. Like when we talk about pitch deck and everything around it, when you try to put into investors, so you need to have different kind of numbers on board, but until you don't know your business in business in detail, you cannot put that numbers. So a CFO or a person who wants to be a CFO at a future should understand number in detail with a very different capacity around it. So that's the whole
So I
thing.
think when you talk about numbers, Excel becomes a very prerequisite.
Right.
Power BI for visualization of
Exactly.
it. So there are, I think, tools which you mean to say that they should be having hands-on or rather expert
Yes.
knowledge on.
So right now, if you see resumes, right? So any of the resume which comes in, so they ask computer skills. Are you learner? Are you expert at it, and everything around it? So these are the kind of skills which is mandated now. So founders, what they're working with. So now we talk about startups in general. All the founders are tech savvy. So I go take a paper. Being a CFO, I come to you, boss. This is your numbers. You're like, what is it? You will have to be more of a tech savvy person, sending them something which appeals eye and makes them understand things in a blink, rather than coming to it asking them, okay boss, ये चीज़ देखना है, यहाँ पे ये देखना है, and give him a call or getting into a Google Meet to make him understand makes no sense. Rather than giving an understanding of it with graphs, as you said, Power BI and everything, those kind of skills become mandatory. It is not like it's a necessity rather than anything else to get to a different level. Today, people coming from who are starting the articleship and everything are very much well equipped and looking at it like Power BI becoming very regular part of it. So that's how it is. These skills are become a mandated skills to get to a different level in your organization. So
Yeah.
understanding on the when we're talking about CA, CPAs and everything around it, what do you think how this whole market of CPAs and everything around it can be of a important benefit to Indian market subcontinent, right? So we are seeing that, as I said, various advertisement around it. But do you think that's such big demand which is actually there? And does US CPAs are very much available in India and it can help the overall structure to get into place?
So you mentioned, our finance minister telling that why not build big five, big six, and why not these firms should be coming from India. So far, we have always been seeing a foreign firm opening up, offices in India and serving the Indian clients. Uh, to ensure that we have that ecosystem, we build that ecosystem. Chartered accountant definitely is going to be one very good important foundation of it. But to go global, you need to be entering the Middle East, you need to be entering the entire Western world, the Europe.
Right.
Most of these part of the world, unfortunately, till today do not recognize chartered accountants. Middle East has some recognition where we have got some exposure, but if you look at the Western world, the Europe and all, so as a CA, definitely you cannot find an entry. So CPAs are definitely the need of the hour because they have the skills, they have the knowledge. As a CPA, you are running much, much, much bigger economy in the US alone. So they have the expertise. So whatever CAs are doing in India, I think CPAs are very, very well equipped to do it. Just that they are coming at a cost, because the demand for CPAs in India is very, very high. Not just in India, around the world is very high, and the supply, like chartered accountants, even the CPA supply is very, very short. You can say it is the largest accounting body, but overall, if you you look at the world population and the number of CPAs, it is almost, as bad as chartered accountants numbers. So that gives them a leverage, that gives them a command for a much, much, much bigger salary. As a CPA with just, with just 10 years of work experience, you are getting a salary above 30 lakhs, above 40 lakhs. So that's attracting. And if you are able to have an entire ecosystem with good number of CPAs, I think you can attract many, 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 many clients from around the world, because the credibility factor is already there with you. And this is something that already big fours are doing. So if you look at any of the big four, they have a one more office. For example, Deloitte has another office called
GDS.
Deloitte USI.
Okay.
If you look at EY has another office called GDS. If you look at, if you look at PwC, if you look at Grant Thornton, or if you look at any of these firms, they have been working on having one more offices in India, which is to serve the global
delivery.
to serve the global clients. And all of them are hiring, CPAs, EAs, ACCAs in great number. One quick example I'll tell you, Deloitte and EY, they sponsor the entire CPA program.
Okay.
Not just that, if you look at Deloitte, they sponsor and they give you bonus. Bonus is up to 5 lakh rupees if you have passed the CPA exam. All right. Even EY has a policy wherein if you have passed the CPA exam, the entire examination cost and your entire journey will be refunded to you by EY. So understand, there's a huge, huge, huge demand for this. And if we want to be a a global big five, then we have to start this journey of having international qualification in house and reaching out to the Western world with our quality of services.
It's like more often getting an overall understanding in India, getting everybody in India. It's like an involved economy which is going to be there.
Definitely.
Right? So while talking about CPAs, there's one single understanding. So when we talk, we have CEOs, Indian CEOs sitting in all global companies. So do we see similar situation which is happening in couple of years where we have Indian CFO sitting in all other companies around here across the globe?
We have missed this and we cannot miss it any further.
Okay.
To be a CFO, if you are, having an Indian background, or accounting knowledge, or, auditing knowledge, we have gone very deep. If we just add a CPA qualification, I think you will see the change. And this change has already started happening. If you see a Tesla CFO, he's an Indian and he's a CPA.
Okay.
And if I'm not wrong, he's also a chartered accountant. So the change has already began.
Okay.
And you will see many, many more things happening. We were not able to reach that position because CPA's awareness was not there, exam centers were not there in India. But things are going to change. The next 10 years, Indians will be ruling the financial world.
So it's
as
India's
CPAs.
century, as you say. Not just
Definitely.
India's decade.
It's a time for Indians, and it's a time for India to create the global CFOs for the world.
So we see it like this. All CXOs around the world, global, will be Indians more or less very soon. CEOs are already there. CFOs going to come in place. And we are good
Yes.
at everything else.
Yes, we are great at everything else.
Great.
Thank you so much, Pankaj, for for being part of this podcast and sharing your invaluable insights into the world of finance and making the finance look much, much more attractive and much more appealing to the audience.
Thank you so much for having me here. It was great talking to you.